We've had some amazing miracle stories. Three incredible women shared their stories with us. And today I'm so excited because we're going to have somebody representing the guys because they've got great miracles too. And so Joel Van Briggle and his family are incredible people. My family loves them, and you'll figure out why after you talk to Joel for a second. Hear from him. Just amazing, versatile, for sure. So many different things that they do, that he does, and different seasons, including their recent European journey, let me say, but also a lot of miracle stories, healing, and things that they've experienced, things that other people have experienced through their ministry too. So I am so excited that you're with us, Joel. Thank you for taking the time. He literally just landed, just got off a plane and came to talk to us today. So thank you so much, Joel. Take it away.
Kristen, thank you so much. What a joy and a delight it is to be able to share with your friends and your community of the miracles that God does. I'm thankful that God still does miracles, and it is wonderful that I'm not talking about beauty tips. I heard, you've had people talk about those things, and I thought, wow, this is going to be a different journey. But with that being said, I am just so grateful for my own life. Even as I think about it, I'm sitting here as a miracle. It was nearly 7 years ago that it was November 20th, 2015. I was speaking at Continental Theological Seminary in Brussels. I was sharing with the students about the work that we were doing with missions and helping refugees and developing community connection with local churches. And it was about 3 minutes into my speaking when I felt like I was going to faint, which I've just never randomly fainted. So that was just kind of a weird feeling. And I thought, well, perhaps I didn't eat properly this morning, my blood sugar's off or something. I had no way of knowing what was happening, but I thought, Joel, just keep speaking and this feeling will go away. And as I got to the end of a sentence, I realized there was a word that I just couldn't come up with. And I was standing there, and the next thing I know, I collapsed. And I woke up 5.5 minutes later, which must have felt like an eternity. And I had thought that I had just fainted just a few seconds, no big deal. I woke up and I said, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe I fainted. And my colleague who was with me that day said, Joel, the paramedics will be here any minute. And I said, oh, paramedics. Oh, I can't believe it. Well, they rushed me to the hospital. And of course, I was still alert. And to know me is to know I threw in a couple jokes along the way. And as I arrived at the hospital, they quickly took me into CT scan and diagnosed me with a ruptured brain aneurysm. And the type of brain aneurysm that I had was the main artery that connects the right side to the left side of the brain. And 96% of people who have that type of aneurysm die. And of the 4% that survive, 9 out of 10 will have long-term debilitating issues, many of which are moved into a nursing home. So the fact that I'm sitting here talking with you, that I just got off a plane from ministry this week, it's absolutely miraculous. And the fact, my doctors said, the fact that you're speaking, the fact that you're able to function in the way you are is absolutely miraculous. And oftentimes I'll get the question if there's any long-term effects. And the reality is I have 3 fingers on my right hand that tingle all the time, like they're asleep. And I just kind of decided a long time ago that if these 3 fingers remind me what God did, it's absolutely worth it.
Joel, wow. I really didn't know a lot of that. I mean, I knew you had the brain aneurysm. I did not know all of those details. The brain aneurysm, being in Europe, seeing these people, communicating with them, how has that, and all the miracles you've seen, how has that changed you or transformed your life? Like, how has that impacted you?
Well, it certainly has given me great resolve in understanding that I have to steward my life. I only have one life to live, and I have to steward that in such a way that I make the most. I think the Apostle Paul says to make the most of every opportunity. I've run into so many medical people who they hear my story and they're just struck by recognizing that that has to be an act of God. Everyone listening today has a story, and that story is powerful. And we love the colossal miracle stories, but I can tell you there are miracles in simplicity, in the simple little things where God redirected your path, where you were protected, where you were delayed in one place so that you were saved in another. It is all of these little pieces, and I think you have a very keen awareness when you come that close to death. And there was another little miracle, if I can tell you another little miracle piece of it. I was in the hospital for 22 days. 17 of those days, I wasn't even allowed to put my feet over the edge of the bed. They were very conservative. They wanted no shift of blood pressure. But one of the things that was challenging was that when my body reset, my diaphragm was functioning the opposite. You're a musician and a singer, and you know that when you breathe, the diaphragm goes down to expand so that you have greater capacity to breathe. And then when you breathe out, it contracts. My diaphragm in the reset of my brain did the opposite. And so I was gasping for air. It was my oxygen levels were very low, and I was declining. I was, there were three windows. There's the 24, 48, and then 2 week, where they really think are critical, where you can still die from this experience. And I was 9 days in, and I was really critical, and I was kind of going downhill, couldn't breathe. And my wife, Gail, came in and she said, Joel, it's Sunday, and normally we would be worshiping together, so let's worship together. And she put music on, and I began to sing, and instantly my diaphragm, in muscle memory, completely flipped around, and I began to breathe. In fact, in such a way that the nurses flooded out of the hallway into my room to find out why my oxygen levels had gone from the low 80s to 99 and 100 as I began to just sing.
That gives me chills, and I love Gail. I'm sure she has such a journey of faith through this as well, being on the other side, the power of prayer, and your kids, the power of the praying wife and kids during when they're watching this. I'm sure she has been impacted in a separate way, and for her to come in and say, okay, let's do this, watching you there, and to have that faith is no surprise, but it's amazing. And what you said, I remember a lot of people saying Yahweh, the breath means the breath in our lungs, like God is literally the breath in our lungs, and
Yeah.
needed to worship. So that is so amazing. I love that there's miracles upon miracles wrapped up into miracles. And okay, so this is going to be an interesting question, but I've asked everybody, so I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
What is the one word that would describe your journey? And it could be a phrase if you can't just limit it to one word, that you would say, to describe everything.
If it's really anything, it's a word of faithfulness, and it's not my faithfulness as much as God's faithfulness, and recognizing that He cares about every detail of life. I grew up from 5 generations of steel workers, crane operators, and the things that God plucked me out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and sent me around the world to encounter people who needed to encounter Christ, and to have a brain aneurysm in the middle of Belgium, and being 7 minutes away from the top 3 hospitals in all of Europe to handle brain aneurysms. That is a miracle to see all of these pieces. So it's God's continued faithfulness. And I think his faithfulness, not only to me, but to the people that are now being impacted by the story.
Just, I mean, you said it all. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? I mean, that's all amazing.
I think that um, it is easy for me to cherish every day. For those of you who haven't had those kind of encounters, it's no less important for you to cherish today. Today is a gift. Today is a day that God has given you to impact others, to encourage someone, to love someone, to be a light, and to be a person of peace, a person who speaks hope today. And you have been given that gift of today. The truth is, none of us are promised anything, and we don't know what today may hold, but we do know that this moment we have, and we have to steward that and use it for God's glory and use it to impact other people.
Joel, you said so much, so many different things that I am going to, it's ministered to me, and I'm going to go back and watch it over and over again, because it is just so many pearls of wisdom there. And for reminding us, you're right, God uses each of us, and your experience, that even though I have not had the same experience, I've certainly experienced God's miracles, but I've also, through your story, been blessed by that, and so many others as well. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking the time and jumping off a plane to share. And we are definitely going to be keeping not only you and your family in prayer, but all the people that you reach in prayer. And when you think of it, just send us some Belgian chocolate or
there you go. Kristen, please greet your family for me, and thank you so much. It is truly an honor to be able to speak with you today.
Thank you, Joel.